Good day, thinkers, thought leaders, progressives, and dreamers. I'm Craig TheWriter Stewart, and I'm inviting you to join my Patreon. Don't know what a Patreon is? It's my official video diary with only exclusive content that you won't see anyplace else. It's easy to join. Just visit patreon.com/Craig TheWriter Stewart. Here's what you'll find on my Patreon. A day in my life, whether that's dinner with friends or a typical workday. Live Q&As with members of my Patreon about each episode of the T.S. Madison Experience and what I was really thinking. I'll even bring you on vacation with me. The video will make you think that you were right there. And last but not least, for all of my aspiring writers, I give you firsthand, one-on-one, personalized attention, answering all of your questions about publishing and self-publishing. So what are you waiting for? Join now. Swipe up or visit www.patreon.com/Craig TheWriter Stewart. I'll see you soon. Oh, and one more thing. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Craig TheWriter. Do it now. Good day, thinkers, thought leaders, progressives, and dreamers. I'm Craig TheWriter Stewart, and this is So Much to Say YouTube TV. These are my thoughts in my voice on black shit, white shit, gay shit, and everything in between. So Much to Say YouTube TV is the place that you come to learn and grow because we discuss socially relevant things mixed with a splash of humor. If you know you have tissue paper feelings, this probably isn't the channel for you. However, since you're here, I just need for you to do two things. Hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on that little bell so that you get the notification every single time that I go live or upload something new. I'll see you soon. Bye. Hey, girl. Hey. Baby Aunt Scott that made a whole catfish. He grilled it. We got a little spinach and mushroom and a little mac and cheese. Now, you know I stay away from the dairy, but he had already made the plate. So I'm not going to refuse it and send it back. So I'm going to go ahead and eat it. Did you want to go ahead and bow your head and bless the food?
Is that what we doing? Go on. You believe. We bless the
Around the corner. At my house, we bless the food. Father God, we thank you for the food we're about to receive. Let it be for the nourishment of our bodies. Bless the hands that prepared it, even though he didn't want to say thank you to you. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
First of all, I'm already blessed. This whole household is blessed.
Come on, household. I have never had whole catfish before, Scott.
Oh, my God.
It's good.
It's so good. It's my favorite, actually.
Oh, my God. He grilled it on the grill.
Sure did. I think that's what grilled means.
Well, you know, some people might think I meant grilled it like on the stove in a pan, you know. Or you like one of the little home grills that you put on the counter.
One of those electric grills. But
right.
If you live in New York City and you don't have like outdoor space.
All right, because we got some New Yorkers watching.
Yeah.
What did you season it with?
A little sugar Avery P.
I thought it tasted a little acidic. Good day, thinkers, thought leaders, progressives, and dreamers. I'm Craig TheWriter Stewart. And this is the Facebook and YouTube live versions of So Much to Say. These are my thoughts in my voice on black shit, white shit, gay shit, and everything in between. I'm going to do my best, my very best, to not smack while I'm eating, because I know y'all be talking about me. But listen, I'm 46.
You need to smack, because that's how they know my shit is good.
Right. And that's how I'm able to taste all of the flavors and the essence and stuff.
Right.
So Scott and I wanted to have a conversation about.
I don't know. I think the topic is really about honesty, integrity, disclosure,
truth,
being your authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's about that. That's really
right.
I mean, it shows up in different ways for different people. Like my story is my story. I'm sure you have a story. Like everybody has a story where they need to show up
right
with their stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So last night, Scott hosted a cocktail hour for some of his female friends who happen to be lesbian. What was it about?
It was 6 of them and 3 of us.
So it was 6 ladies and then myself, Scott, and our friend Jeff.
Because I needed some masculine energy in this room.
Right. So,
excuse me, there are bones in this fish. Sorry.
Right. So we got to get them out. So It wasn't planned, but
What?
somehow the conversation just started moving towards things that happen on the lesbian side and things that happen on the gay side.
Yeah.
And they were asking us different things. And one of the things that was really funny to me, I think it was Sam that said it. She said, "Yeah, because y'all will hook up right in the alley."
Yeah. No, wait, Ruby said that. Ruby said that.
And I was like, "In the alley?" I said, "No, I ain't never done that." And I said, "No."
Well, because I was co-signing, and I was like, and you were like, "Well, no, I ain't been in the alley."
Right. I said, "Now, in the years that I did hook up, I was, hooking up from the comfort of my home, right on my computer, setting up the date from the house."
Right.
But I do know some of the gays enjoy hooking up in the gym.
We didn't always. So this is a generational thing.
Yeah.
We didn't always have that.
Right. So by the time I came through to the community, we had the internet.
That's right.
But Scott and them had the chat line.
Yes.
You had to get on the phone.
But I didn't even have, so sometimes you had to, I grew up I was out rather during an age where there were tea rooms. Do you know that terminology?
I was going to say, what's a tea room?
A tea room is a bathroom where men are actively cruising. And they're like signals where they'll move their foot over and tap your foot. Yeah. So it's a bathroom, like a public bathroom, like in the mall or wherever. Most of them were in the train station or
down at 5 Points.
Wherever. This was back when I lived in New York or, and it would Grand Central Station or Penn State, the public bathrooms were notorious for men.
So why do they call it a tea room?
I don't know, but that's what it used to be called, a tea room.
Y'all just wanted to be fancy.
I didn't name it that. I mean, that's what it was called.
But so for those of you who may be wondering, well, why did people do that? Why did guys hook up like that? Part of it is attached to shame.
Yes.
And being closeted.
Well, and a lot of the men in tea rooms were married men, that were just getting their rocks off. Which
last night we talked about that as well. A couple of the ladies were in relationships with men.
No. They
have been in relationships with men.
Because several of them were bisexual.
Right. So anyway, Scott and I had been planning to have this conversation for a while.
Yes.
And then he kind of had to work up his nerves.
And it's interesting because I'm going to talk about that because I don't know why I had to work up my nerves.
I think because this is a new level of...
It's a new medium, right?
It is.
So I've written about it. And I just was telling Jamie, my girlfriend, on the phone, because she was asking me, well, why are you wanting to talk about this again all of a sudden? Mm-hmm. And I was telling her that, because she said, you've written about it in a national kind of way. And I was like, yeah. It's but it's different when people can see you and hear you and comment and ask you questions and engage with you.
Because this was Scott's idea. This conversation was Scott's idea.
My idea.
So don't be emailing me talking about why,
Well, because I think it's important. I think it's an important. So let's just get to it. Because I'm sure they're like, well, what the fuck?
What they talking about? But if you're on Patreon, you already know.
You do?
Yeah, I did a little warm-up video for my patrons.
Oh, okay. All right.
So you want to start with how we met?
I don't.
Or how I came to know who you were?
Oh, you want to talk about that article I wrote?
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So Scott and I met.
I don't know what year.
I don't know what year.
I can barely remember what I did yesterday.
I don't remember what year it was that Scott and I met. But Scott and I met.
It was it was after 9/11, so it was maybe 2001.
Yeah, somewhere around there. So when I first come across an article that Scott wrote for this magazine, it was called Click Magazine. It was it was not a 4x6, but it was an 8x10 size magazine or something. It was a small gay magazine.
But it was national.
It was national, but it was when I say small, I mean in size.
Yeah.
And so it was a small magazine, but it was a national magazine. And it catered towards Black gay stuff. Because there were white gay magazines that were out, but there was nothing that was for us. And so when I first came across this article, this was 1999.
Okay, yeah, because I've been writing for the magazine since 1996, actually.
And I know that it was 1999. Please hit the like button, please hit the share button, and the subscribe button. I know that it was 99 because if you read my first book, I was dating a guy. And this was the first experience that I had with dating someone that was HIV positive. Now, let me give you a little background.
Why are you pointing to me? I know the story.
Oh, I know. But let me give you a little background. So the background is my mother.
And I am not the guy.
No, Scott is not the guy. So my mother used to have an assisted living business. But prior to it being an assisted living business, she had bought like this other house in Baltimore. It was through an auction. She had the house renovated. And first, it was initially for people who were living with HIV.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So there was a guy there. And I was in high school. So this had to have been like 91, 92.
You were in high school in 1991?
Yes. It was like 91, 92.
You need to finish your plate and get out of my house.
So there was a guy, I remember her first patient, we called them patients at the time, or client. It was her first client. And it was a guy, he was a recovering addict, and he was HIV positive. And I'll never forget, he moved into the house, and my mom and I had gone down to the house for whatever reason she had to go down there. And I remember she introduced us to each other. And I remember him extending his hand to shake my hand. And I shook his hand.
But you were scared.
I was scared to shake his hand. Because remember, this is 1990, 91, 92.
Yeah.
So we're only, 9 years from HIV getting a name? Because it was classified as HIV in 83?
Yeah.
So we were only about 9 years in.
No, it was classified as GRID back in 83.
Right.
Gay-related infectious disease.
Right. So we're only about 9 years into this thing.
Yeah.
So people still didn't know a whole lot. And so I was afraid to shake his hand, but I shook his hand. And I remember telling my mother, like, I didn't really want to shake his hand or she was just like, well, just go wash your hands. It ain't nothing wrong, that kind of thing. So I went and washed my hands because I had a sandwich I was about to eat. So anyway, I went and ate the sandwich. Fast forward to 1999, the very first guy that I fell in love with was HIV positive. And that was one of my biggest fears coming into the community, was
getting HIV or dating someone?
Dating someone.
Really?
HIV positive.
And not knowing it?
I don't know if I thought that far.
Okay.
But I was always nervous about, let me go back to this. I never had a fear of becoming HIV positive. And I think it's important for me to say that because when I got into the relationship with this first guy, and it wasn't even a relationship, but we were dating.
Right.
But when we got involved, I remember one of the conversations that he and I had. And if you had my first book, Words Never Spoken, I do go into great detail about this. I remember him saying to me, well, didn't you? He said, well, I think we all at some point, believe that we're going to get it. No. And I said, no, I don't think most people think that. No. He said, well, I did. And he said to me,
that's interesting because that's directly tied to his and those people that think that their self-worth.
Correct. And he said to me, and it's almost like a relief that I finally got it. So I no longer have to run from it.
Wow.
And it was deep. And so,
that's really deep.
Right. So at that time when I was dealing with this guy, when I was dating this guy, I came across this article that Scott had written. And I don't remember I think the article was called The Giggles.
Yes, it was called The Giggles.
So the article was called The Giggles. Now, you want to tell this part of the story about the article and why you wrote the article and all of that?
Okay, well, but before I tell, so I used to have a monthly column in Click Magazine, and I wrote about, the very first thing I wrote about was being HIV positive. And, how I was told and how I felt and, telling my family and all of those kinds of things, all of the emotions that I went through with finding out, which I found out in 1996. So I've been positive, I don't even know. I honestly,
is that 26 years?
It's a long time. I've never been sick from HIV. I take 1 pill a day and I'm great. And I actually want to talk about that because there are moments that I have survivor's guilt.
Because you've had friends that have passed.
Yeah.
And
I don't know what I've done differently to be here. and it's a burden I carry.
Now, I don't know if I knew that.
I don't talk about it. I just discovered it.
Yeah, I don't think I didn't know that you had survivor's guilt.
I discovered it in therapy, and my therapist said to me, "Do you feel guilty?" And I said, "Yeah, I feel guilty because I don't know what I've done differently and what I have done to deserve to still be here, and they aren't."
Right.
And it's, like I could cry now even just talking about it, because it's a lot to carry around, to see, like, to be on a dance floor and see friends of yours, and that, it's when Cheryl was here last night. Cheryl used to live with Terrence, who passed away, and we talked about that, like, about how there's so many people that aren't here anymore. And, I got a little misty-eyed talking to her, because it's like, it's just, it's a lot to carry. Anyway, I'm sorry. I went off on that.
That was important. That was important.
So I wrote this. I used to write about my status, and I would write about dating and revealing my status and not knowing when to do that or how to do that, or what was an appropriate time. So I, opted for telling people as soon as they expressed an interest, just because I could cut off the rejection at the pass, which was my thought. And I wrote this article called The Giggles, because when I lived in New York, my friends and I, we were young and we would hang out in all these clubs, and it was a term we used, and we would be like, "Oh, he looks like he has the giggles."
Meaning HIV.
Which was HIV. And so what I wrote that you told me that stood out to you was that, "Here I sit," this is a quote from my article, "Here I sit with the giggles, not finding anything funny."
Right.
Because that's how I was feeling at the time. Because at the time, I felt dirty. Like, I felt, there's no other word for it other than dirty. Like, I just felt unclean. And I knew who gave it to me, which made it even worse. Because I would run into him periodically. Yeah, so
with that being said, the guy that I was dating, for me, and I think the difference, and I don't know this, I'm just from my experience with people living with HIV, from my perspective, and again, this is no science to it. It does.
We know you're not a scientist,
right? But I'm just choosing my words carefully, because, again, one of the things that I said to Scott, and I said I want to have this conversation with you because he knows my heart and he knows how I feel about HIV, and he knows I really respect people's anonymity.
Yeah.
And all of that. Like, I don't discover, like, oh, he positive. Like, I'm not that person that does that.
Yeah. And nor am I.
Right.
And I get irritated because somebody did this to me recently. We had been out drinking at this party, and they came back to my house, and we were talking about a mutual friend of ours. And he said, "Well, he's positive." And I was like,
why did I need to know that information?
First of all, I did not know.
Right.
Secondly, it's not your place to tell me that.
Right.
And he knew I was positive. And so sometimes people divulge things to me because they know I'm positive.
Yeah.
Well, but I'm like, that's not your information to, and I said that to him. I was like, that is not your information to give to me.
And what did he say?
And he was like, "Oh." And he was like really visibly shaken. And I was like, that is not gossip. That is not, that's inappropriate.
Right.
And I was pissed, like, and he had to go, because I was like, because for me, it's like, if you're telling me about this person's status, I know you're out there discussing mine. And I'm fine with it, but it's still my story to tell. And it's not anybody, like, that's irresponsible.
Right. So somebody just said, I have been positive since 2006, and the person that gave it to me has since died. I think it depends on how you care for yourself properly. So to that point is what I was saying.
I agree.
In my experience, you don't lead with that. Like, Scott dated a guy. We were talking about this the other day. Yeah. Scott dated a guy some years ago who was positive. And he said, one of the problems that I had with dating this particular guy was he always wanted to be talking about HIV. He always wanted to talk about, did you read this article about this new drug that's coming out? And but Scott doesn't lead with that. Yeah. We don't talk about his status. And that's what I think is the difference.
And to be honest, I don't really even
He doesn't think about it. And I think that's the difference. I think with the guy that I was dating back in 99, I think that he was consumed with it. And I think the stress is what killed him because he ultimately died as well.
He was defined by it.
He was defined by it. And Scott is not defined by
I'm
that.
not. I'm not defined by anything. I'm not defined by being black. I'm not defined by being gay.
Right.
I don't live in a box.
Right.
And people choose to live in a box.
Right.
I'm bigger than the box.
Exactly.
And I don't allow anybody else to define me.
Right. And so part of the reason, like I said, Scott had said to me months ago that we should do this conversation, but I was kind of reluctant to do it because.
Oh, I was too.
Yeah, and he was reluctant too. And I just was reluctant to do it because I know as a person that's HIV negative that sometimes when you express yourself or your ideas about HIV or what dating somebody HIV positive or whatever, sometimes people lash out at you as if you're intentionally trying to be hurtful. It goes back to what I was saying yesterday on the live last night with Jack and Elliot. Sometimes people avoid having these difficult conversations, whether it's black and white people or gay people and trans people, because you're afraid of sounding ignorant. You're afraid of being called ignorant or being insensitive or being called insensitive. So you just avoid the shit all the time.
But there's also the element of people thinking that their opinion supersedes anybody else.
Exactly.
And that is so, like, everybody is entitled to feel like there were things that were said last night that I didn't agree with.
Right.
And that I was kind of shocked by, actually.
I mentioned that to Nina today.
Yeah, I was kind of like, oh my God. Like, okay, so I'll give you an example. And if anybody's watching this that was here last night, I'm not angry about it. It just was surprising. So, like, one of the things I said was trans women are women.
And every woman in the room said, no, God. They're not. And these were all lesbian women, right? And they all in like they
in unison,
like they had practiced it. And we all looked at each other like we looked at them and they looked at each other and said, "Wow," you know. And so again, it goes back to.
And I was not about to go down that path because they were very passionate about.
And because they were born women.
Yeah, well, that female,
women and female,
yeah.
They were born female. And we, as men, can't tell them
how to feel.
And
I'm not trying to take away how they feel. And nor am I trying to get up on my soapbox and be sanctimonious about how I feel.
Yeah.
Because no one wants to be preached to. Like,
because at some point, you're trying to proselytize the person. You're trying to change how they see it and think about it and get them to adopt the way that you
That's see it. Right. And that's not my ministry.
Yeah, not at all.
To quote you.
Right. Okay, that is not my ministry. So Scott knows that I've dated more than one person that's positive in my life.
Are we getting ready to talk about this?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
Wait, what you think I'm about to say?
That he thinks.
Oh no, I wasn't about to go there.
Okay.
But since we're there, but so one of the guys that I dated, and this was years and years ago, but one of the guys that I dated thought, for whatever reason, that I was, well, let me say this real quick. Will Kim says, well, I do think that trans women are women. And that's what me, Scott, and our male friend Jeff said. But all of the women in the house said, no, they're not.
I won't say all, because some didn't say anything, but the majority.
The majority of them said, no, they're not. So anyway, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
So this guy that I dated years ago, that's positive, for whatever reason, after we broke up, he thought that I was going around telling people that he was positive. And I did not. And so one of the people that he said it to, did he say it to you? Did he ask you? He said, he asked Scott, he said, did Craig tell you?
Well, only because I asked him, I said something to him, and I don't remember, but there was a conversation that we were having. Mm-hmm. Were you there?
No, I wasn't there.
Okay, so his ex and I are friends also. And we were talking, and he said something that made me kind of go, I wonder if. And I think I said something to you.
You came to my house.
Oh, I did.
We can't show it to too much.
But
But Scott ended up coming over to my house.
Yeah.
He called me after the conversation and said, "Are you at home?" And
I
said, "Yeah." And I was in an apartment, and my back was to the door when Scott came in. And I don't know if I was doing dishes or something, but Scott came in, and he said, "Is such and such positive?" And I swung around and I said, why did you ask me that? He said, well, you don't even have to say. He said, that's enough. He said it was based on something he said to me. So at any rate, but that wasn't where I was about to go. I was going to say I've dated people that were positive, but I'm in a space in my life now that I don't know if, like before I met Carlton, and Carlton is not positive, but before I met Carlton, I was in a space where I was just like, would I do it again?
It could be, particularly
because it's a hard choice for me. And I think a lot of people that are positive, not necessarily Scott, but I think, right. But I think a lot of times people think, well, I don't understand why it's such a hard decision, because every person that you approach or every person that you lay down with, you should assume that they're HIV positive. And I'm like, yeah, you should be take precaution with anybody that you have sex with. Yes. But it is a difference when you absolutely know that a person is positive.
That's right.
And these are conversations that people that are HIV negative have that we sometimes don't have around people that are HIV positive.
That's right.
Because we know that they'll get defensive. And they think,
and I will be, to be brutally honest, it stings.
Yeah.
But it does. But I honestly feel like everyone is entitled, because like I said about the HIV positive person that I dated, he wanted to talk about, and I'm cautious about dating other HIV positive people because of that.
And I've heard HIV positive people say to me, oh, I ain't dating nobody that's negative.
Well, and right.
But it's like, so HIV negative people can't say, well, I don't want to date anybody positive.
For people that, because I talked about this recently, that everybody knows I'm dating someone now, and he's negative. And I said to you the other day that I wanted to talk to him before having this conversation, because sometimes people will just
assume
guilt by association.
Right.
Well, he must be positive too,
because he's dating Scott.
Right.
And that's not always the case.
And that's not all. For me in particular, like most of the people that I have dated are negative.
Right.
Most of them.
And so someone just said, and this is a good point, the gays will rip you apart if you say you prefer not to date somebody that's positive.
Oh my God. And it's absolutely right. And they are entitled to their preference. Everybody is entitled to like what you like. That's what I meant. I'm sorry.
Right. No,
that's what I meant by people think that their opinion supersedes everybody else's.
Right.
Like, fuck what you got to say. My shit is right, and it's the only way. And that's ridiculous.
And I think it's important to say that a person doesn't always decide that they don't want to date somebody that's positive simply because they're ignorant. Because there's this assumption that, you just don't know anything about the virus. You don't know how it's transmitted.
Right.
You're just ignorant. It's not always that.
It's not always
a friend of mine said to me, and he's negative. A friend of mine said to me, he said, I'm not interested in getting on PrEP. And he said, and I want to be able to have unprotected sex in a committed long-term relationship. He said, so for that reason, I don't want to date somebody HIV positive. And I had to respect that. And I remember when I did a signing years ago. It was my first book had come out, and I did a signing over at Morehouse. And there was about 100 people in that room. Did you come to that?
No, but we talked about
yeah. And I was so fucking nervous. I don't get nervous now, but I was so nervous. I almost didn't want to go up there to speak because there was so many people in that damn room. I said, good God Almighty. But I went up there to read, and I read a couple excerpts from the book. And I specifically read a piece about the guy that I dated that was positive, the first guy that I dated. And I remember and we did a Q&A. And I remember at the end of the Q&A, I'm packing my shit to leave. Or no, actually, we were taking pictures. And I remember this young guy came up to me. He was a student at Morehouse. And I remember he came up and he whispered to me. He wanted to talk to me on the side. And he said, I just recently met this guy that I've been dating and I really like him. But he just told me he's positive. Do you think?
Oh, he was asking your opinion.
He asked me, do you think I should date him? And I said to him, that's a personal decision. You have to decide if you can handle that.
That's right.
I said, and don't let anybody force you to or make you believe that you have to or you're being some kind of way if you decide not to.
That's right.
I said, I can never tell you that.
That's right.
And now at this point in my life, again, why I was kind of nervous to have this conversation prior to us is because, and like I said a few moments ago, I'm in a space in my life now that I don't know if I would ever do it again for various reasons, and we can get into that. But I was reluctant to say that because now I have this following and all this other stuff, and people see me in a certain way.
Well,
I don't want anybody to. I don't want to tell anybody what to do in their circumstance.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I'm very careful with what I say. Because I don't want to influence you to make a decision one way or the other.
Right. I think it's kind of like dating whoever you choose to date. Like no one should really be in someone else's ear unless they're being abused, like, extreme circumstances.
Yeah.
Like you don't get to decide how love enters your life. Yeah. You don't get to decide the packaging. That's just not how it works. Yeah. So you can set some guidelines, but it's gonna show up how it shows up. Right. So I don't think that it's fair to tell other people how and who to love. Like that's just not
exactly. So for me, it was a hard decision every single time when I dated somebody that was positive.
What goes through your mind? Let's talk. So when someone expresses an interest in me, or I express an interest in someone, it used to be that I would tell them up front. Yeah. I never, because I never know what to do in those situations. I'm not, contrary to popular belief about me, I am very much an introvert. I am also a little bit socially awkward in situations like that because I don't. I'm very acutely aware that people have an immediate perception of me, and I don't know what to do to counteract that. So I typically just kind of stay to myself, which feeds that perception. But so I generally would just say, by the way, I'm HIV positive, and you need to know that if we're gonna date. Which is crazy, right?
That's how you would say it.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm just like, I'm very matter of fact. I have the giggles.
and see, that's the other thing. Scott and I and another friend of mine that's positive, we used to we laugh and joke about it. Like, for example, my friend Dante in LA, he's open about his status. We've done lives and stuff together. And like, he'll be like, because I got this compromised immune system. So we laugh and joke about it. But I don't play like that with everybody.
You can.
Yeah, you can.
You cannot.
But you said what goes through my mind? Well, I'm gonna tell you this. With the first guy that I dated, there was a PTSD that I experienced after him.
I can see that.
He broke it off. And if you read I don't want to go into all this because this is in the first book, and I don't want to waste time talking about that because it is in the first book. But he broke it off, and I'll never forget every single time that I went out, whether it's to a club, to a party. Bitch, I could have been at Six Flags over Georgia. Whenever I went somewhere and it was a bunch of people, the first 5 minutes of me being in that space, I was wondering, I wonder how many people in here are HIV positive.
Oh wow.
That's what that did to me. I was like traumatized.
Well, wait, but did it keep you? Was it a barrier from you engaging, or was
no? but it was definitely at the forefront of my mind, and it was
clearly temporarily.
Yes, it was right. It was at the I mean, even to this day, I don't think about it as soon as I walk into a space anymore. No, I don't even know how long that lasted, but it's always at the front of my mind when I meet somebody new, or in the context of dating.
Yeah.
And so I always let it be somewhere in the front. And then at some point, if we escalated to dating or getting whatever, it would always be right there. And I would say, okay, well, have you been tested? And we would have the whole conversation.
When though? Like, so when do you have, as opposed to me that's sitting there just saying, oh, you like me? Well, here's something you need to know.
Right.
When did you have that conversation?
I had the conversation if it felt like we were moving into a sexual space, right? I wouldn't wait till, sometimes it would be right when we...
So the next day.
No! like if we're dating and we're spending time and we're hanging out and then we start getting hot and heavy in certain instances, I would have the conversation, we need to start to, and it, not even just having a conversation. I was really adamant about us going and getting tested.
Okay.
So even like, for example, with me and Carlton, and I've told you guys this before, like we had fooled around, but we didn't actually have sex until like 2 months in, and that was after we had gotten tested. We got tested together. Okay. Good for you, Graham. So I always kind of did it, and then a friend of mine who's HIV positive said to me years ago, he said, and these were just his words, I'm not taking this for heart, but he said to me, "You'll never become positive." And I looked at him, I said, "Well, how can you say that? Like, you can't assure anybody of that." He said, "Because you have a healthy fear of getting it." Yeah. Yeah. He said it's always at the forefront of your mind. You ask the questions, and he said you do your due diligence. He said, so I don't think you'll ever get it. And when he said it, it struck me, and I think that may have released me a little bit. Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, that may have released me a little bit. But I've always kind of had those kinds of questions. Even when I was hooking up, I would pretty much even have those conversations. And not to say that people are always going to be forthcoming with you, but I would have those conversations. It would just come up for me.
Yeah, I don't know, like, we talked about that the other day about people and their responsibility around.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Disclosure. Right. And that was kind of bothersome for me because I think I'm so matter of fact about it because I very strongly feel that you are not going to attach a stigma or shame me because I had sex. Right. Which everybody fucking does.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, people out here smoking 2 and 3 packs of cigarettes, and nobody stigmatizes people that get cancer. Right. Like, are you fucking kidding me with that shit?
Right. So Scott and I had a conversation the other night, as we were warming up to do this. Like Scott just said, he typically tells people. Not anymore. In the beginning, he used to tell people right up front.
I've been searching for a balance. So now it's more like I try to get to know the person a little bit and figure out if I'm even interested. And then like you, if it's moving towards a sexual thing, then we have that conversation. Yeah.
So when we were talking about it last night, I was telling him a guy that I knew once upon a time. I write about it in the first book. And he used to go over to Morehouse College. And he would cruise Morehouse College in the wee hours of the night, 2, 3, 4 in the morning. And he would go into the male dormitories. And he would cruise the bathrooms. And he would hook up with some of those boys. And he was well out of college age.
So he potentially could be a pedophile.
Yeah, correct. And he would go over there and he would fuck some of those boys in the middle of the night, sometimes in their dormitory room with the roommate in the other room sleep or whatever. And sometimes he used protection and sometimes he didn't. And so we were talking about that and he was just like, well, I just feel like, well, you tell him. You felt like you have a responsibility if the person is positive.
Yeah. I feel like we have a responsibility to one another. Like we are sharing, like I don't give a fuck if it's a hookup, if it's whatever it is. Like you have you have a social obligation to that person, whether you are
hooking up
or whether you're getting into a relationship. Like it is just as a human.
Right? Now for me, and this is what I said to Scott the other day.
And that's my own opinion. Now, I'm not judging what he's doing. Right. Because there are two people. And this is what people... So when I tested positive, people that were close to me were angry. And they were angry with the person that gave it to me. And I had to say, listen, there are 2 of us in that bed.
Yeah.
And I'm responsible for Scott. And he's responsible for him. Now, he's fucked up for not telling me if he even knew. Because some people don't know.
And I don't know if this is the same stat now. But once upon a time, for every single person who knew their status, there were 9 people who did not know their status.
That's right.
So that was Scott's stance. I agree to a point, but I also feel that it is my responsibility to ask.
I agree.
I don't think that if Scott and I were having sex and he's positive and I'm negative, I don't think it's... I mean, yes, I think from a moral standpoint, yeah, it would be great if he said to me, listen, I'm positive.
Well, in some cases, a legal standpoint.
Because in Georgia, you can go to jail.
Yeah.
If you're positive and you're having sex with people and don't tell them.
That's right.
But I just think from a moral standpoint, if I was positive, I would probably say, listen, I don't think I would let somebody have sex with me unprotected and not tell them. That's just me. But I also feel like we're 2 consenting adults. it is just as much my responsibility to ask and have the conversation as it is yours to tell.
The problem with that, I don't disagree with that, but it's a little bit flawed in the sense that we are talking about young men that are still discovering themselves.
That's a good point.
And they don't know who they are. They are in college to figure out who the fuck they are. That's why you go to college.
Right.
To get an education and figure out your life.
Right.
And coupled with that, you may or may not have self-esteem. And it requires you, in order to have a voice to formulate those questions, you have to have self-esteem.
Yeah.
Because you need to, that's advocating for yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is not, some people that
have self-worth issues
do not have that voice.
For themselves. Yeah.
They don't have that voice.
And so we were saying the other night when we were talking, especially some of these people that we know, they're like so pro-Black and Black Lives Matter. And Scott said,
I said, you better not be out here chanting Black Lives Matter and saying they need to ask me. Like, you're fucked up.
Right. So it's like, how are you going to say Black Lives Matter, but you don't disclose your status? And I'm not laughing at that, but I'm laughing at that because it's a contradiction.
It's hypocritical.
It is. Yeah. So, so we just talked about a lot. Like,
and
Scott,
I'm judging. So I will say,
I'm judging that
shit because that's some fucked up shit.
Right. So for me, you asked me, what am I thinking when someone tells me that they're positive? Was that your question?
No. What are you thinking when you are having that conversation about status? Like when you're dating someone and you're having that conversation, like, are you preparing yourself for the worst? Are you?
Once upon a time I was.
Okay.
Because for me it felt like, and when I say once upon a time, I mean,
that's interesting because that's parallel for me, because I'm preparing myself when I reveal that. I'm preparing myself
for rejection.
Yeah, totally.
Right. And I also understand that is the reason why some people who are positive will not disclose, because they have been rejected or they are afraid.
But that's a self-worth issue. That's it
goes back. It still circles back to that.
Because it has nothing to do. It has to do with a preference. That's all that is.
Yeah.
It's a preference that people have.
So there have been instances. Again, this is when I first came into the community, where I was bracing myself because it felt like every single guy I met was HIV positive. I'm like, bitch, I'm a unicorn around here. And not even that, but even like the friends that I had, I was the only one that was negative. I mean, this is my truth.
Move on, please.
This is my truth. I remember one time, I used to think about this shit backwards and forwards in so many different ways. I'll never forget one time I was out to eat and I was with some friends. It was 4 of us at the table and I was just eating and I happened to look up and I said, I'm the only one at the table that's negative.
Oh my, can you please just keep going?
Right. and so I was just like, oh my God, today. And I think that informs the work that I do. I ended up writing a stage play, A Day in the Life, which I definitely want to bring back.
Yeah.
I wrote A Day in the Life because of the very first guy that I fell in love with that was positive. That story was born because of him. It wasn't about him or me.
Right, yeah.
But it was born out of that.
Right.
And then the same thing, like I think that the reason why my work, whether it's the books or whatever, or Gay Like Me Conversations, which is going to be called something else, but I think the reason why a lot of my work is steeped in the Black gay community is because of that first experience that I had.
Yeah. Well, but you're also teaching people that it's okay to just be your authentic self, no matter the circumstance.
But what I've tried to do with my stuff, because I think a lot of Black gay art or entertainment is always linked to HIV and sex. And I just think we're more than that. Like we need to talk about.
That's one of the reasons why I don't like, I have a problem with dating agents, because they just typically define themselves as that.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to, I'm going to use this word, but it's my word.
Okay.
Like, they want to commiserate with me.
Mm.
And I'm not interested. Like, I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
Because it's 18 million things that make me up. Like, don't, like, that's just one.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we needed to touch on. But for me, like, this is what I wanted to say. So it's never been an easy decision. And in the instances that I was involved in a relationship with someone that was positive, they found out well after we had already been dating. We hadn't had sex because I was very, very conservative.
So they told you.
They told me.
No. Wait, I'm saying, or so they told you.
Oh.
They may have known and been holding on to it.
Well, no. In these instances, I believe that they didn't find, because remember, the first guy that I dated. Okay, here's a little backstory. When we first met, he was still living with a guy that he had been in a relationship with.
Mm-hmm.
They were sleeping in separate rooms. And this wasn't just something that he said. Like, they literally were sleeping in separate rooms. And their relationship had become really, really contentious. And the guy that I was dating at the time, he didn't have any place to go right away. Like, he was in school. He was older than me, but because y'all think that I only date younger guys. But at this time, I was dating guys that were older. And he was older. He'd gone back to school and da-da-da. So he wasn't in a position to just up and just move. And they used to get into fights. We'd be on the phone, and the other guy would pick up the phone and be like, "Oh, you talking to your little boyfriend?" It was just a mess.
Wow. And
one night they got into a fight. And I'll never forget, he called me. This story is in words never spoken, so I ain't going into all of the detail. So I remember he called me, and he basically told me that the guy said to him, "You need to go." They were in the middle of an argument, and the guy said, "You need to go and get tested." So he
weaponized it.
He weaponized it. And so I don't know. We didn't know if the guy gave it to the guy that I was seeing, or if the guy that I was seeing gave it to him, because once the relationship fell apart, they both were doing whatever with whomever.
Sure.
So maybe the guy just found out first, but who knows? But the point is,
well, I said that to you because I know someone who was dating a person for months
and then told him later.
And already knew, but acted as though
he just found out. Yeah. I've heard experiences like that. It wasn't a friend.
And even doctored a test result.
Yes, it's like it was recent.
Yes.
I got a story like that too. The same guy that I used to be friends with, they used to go to Morehouse. He had a friend that used to do the same thing. He was dating this guy that he really liked. They were fucking raw. This guy knew he was positive. And months into it, he said, "I got to tell this man that I'm positive." And so he broke down and cried and told the guy he just found out. And
a whole theatrical performance.
And this is why I've said to you guys on this live, it is important that when you get tested, don't let somebody just give you their results. It's important.
Go with
them to get tested.
Yeah.
Because I've also heard of the kids sometimes making up fake negative results. They'll doctor up a thing and say that it's negative to show
so they can have unprotected. What is the point of that? I don't even understand to what end. Like,
well, maybe because they want to have unprotected sex, but also because they don't want to be stigmatized. They don't want people to be labeled as.
But they're stigma. By doing that, they are feeding into the stigma.
Yeah. So, and then in the other instance, again,
this is what. So let's talk about this for a second, because one of the things, the reason I think I have a problem with this, or it makes me a little bit angry. It's disturbing to me. Is because, and I've said this before, maybe not to you, but I say it a lot. Like, we're not very kind to one another.
Oh my God.
We just aren't.
We're not.
We are not nice people to one another.
Right. And who are you talking about?
Black gay men.
I agree.
I agree.
Not. And that's why I try to show up differently.
And me too.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I'm out and I see service workers or whatever the case may be, I am always going to be pleasant. I mean, I try to be nice. And you know that
Neffy can be a nasty bitch.
But let me just say, I'm gonna use some football terminology. I don't play offense, I play defense. Meaning, if I would just go out and fucking with folks. Right. Like, if you fuck with me, I'm going to eviscerate you.
Yeah. And to that point, for me, when I come in contact with Black gay men, I'm always trying to, and I'm not going to be fake, but I try to give a smile.
Right.
I give a hug if it's somebody I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what secret battles you're having.
That's right.
I don't know if you just learned that you're positive. I don't know if you just came out of a breakup. I don't know what you've been going through.
But
and also,
it's also passing along grace. Because
yes,
you have been given grace.
Yes,
I have been given grace, and I try to give grace. I try to be gracious.
Yes, and I think sometimes we're nasty to each other. Yes, because it's our own internalized homophobia.
But it's also we think it's the same thing I was doing with my status. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna get you before you get me.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Because you automatically think that I'm going to be nasty to you.
Right.
You try to get me
before I get you.
Right. And I'm not even. That's not my. That's not my style.
Yeah,
that's not my style at all.
So, and so like when I see people, I try to give a smile, and because you just don't know what people are going through.
You're like in talk show host mode right now.
Well, they can't even see that part.
Yeah, but I mean, you're still.
So Durant said, "What do you think about bug chasing?" Now we got to explain bug chasing because I know everybody here doesn't know what that is.
I'm fast. I don't know much. I don't understand the point.
I think it goes back to self-worth.
I think it's what you were talking about. Your friend who said, I'm finally positive and I can,
exhale.
I think that's what that's about, but I can't wrap my brain around it. Like it's a foreign concept to me. I understand it, but I don't understand the why. I don't get it.
So here's the thing. As far as bug chasing, for those of you who may not know what it is, bug chasing is when an HIV negative person goes out and intentionally tries to contract HIV.
Yeah.
So in my experience of reading articles about it, or I've even talked to people, it's been a long time and I don't remember who said I was trying to get it. I had someone say to me that in some instances, when kids come from families that don't accept them, that push them out of the house, and they end up in a house, like on Pose, like they end up in a house, and they got a gay mother and a gay father and a gay auntie and all this other stuff. In some instances where their friend base or their gay family is positive, they want to feel accepted. They want to feel like they're a part of that. And that's one instance. Wow. But then also going back to the guy that I was saying that I dated, I think for some, even if it's on the subconscious level, it's just like, I want to just go ahead and get this thing out of the way so I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to fear it. I don't have to run from it anymore.
But then if that's your view of the world, where does that end?
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, maybe I should just go ahead and become a drug addict. Maybe I should just become an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Let me just be homeless too. I mean, I don't get it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's something. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. There's so many layers.
There's a lot of layers.
Yeah, there's so many layers to this conversation, and I still don't think I flushed out.
Because it's a level of like there's a lot of psychosis in there. There's a lot of self-esteem. There's a lot of shame. It's all of that kind of stuff that's in there.
Kev, aren't you in the UK? If I'm not mistaken. He put bug chasing for government assistance. I've heard that as well.
Oh, wow.
Because in a lot of states, I don't know what it is now, but once upon a time, you could get a lot of,
you had access to resources.
You had access to resources. You could get a check. At one point, you could get an SSI check.
You could get housing.
You could get housing.
You could sell your life insurance policy. You could do a lot of things.
You could get subsidized power. And
I don't think that's the case.
I think it's changed.
You can't sell your life insurance policy anymore because your life expectancy is pretty much the same
now, because the drugs have gotten better and people are living longer. But there were kids who were trying to become positive because they didn't want to work, frankly, and they just wanted to. I mean,
let's watch those comments pop up.
I mean, some of the kids didn't want to work. You know,
who wants to work? Like, I mean, honestly.
But I'm not gonna go out and get infected so I can get a check.
I mean, I'm just saying, nobody wants to work that I know anyway.
But so going back to what we were saying a moment ago, for me, it was never an easy decision to be like, okay, but in my case, they found out after I had already gotten emotionally attached in some way. So I wasn't just going to walk away.
But
I didn't feel obligated.
Okay.
No, I was connected at that point.
Okay, all right.
You know, but what I am clear about is, and this is where it gets where I get a little nervous to say this because I don't want to offend anybody that may be positive.
Well, you sit next to somebody that's positive. What?
Well, what I was gonna, well, bitch, you know me, so you know my heart. But some people, you know. But
look, if I don't fight them, then y'all ain't got shit to say.
But like, if I was about to meet somebody and I was dating, and he said to me, and we're not emotionally attached, and he said, "Well, you know, I'm HIV positive," I don't know if I would be able to go on. I don't know. I don't know what I would do in this situation.
But I think that is your right? Like you're entitled. It's like I said the other day about this dude that asked me if I was a top or bottom, and I was like, I don't even know your last name.
Right, and you're assuming.
And he was like, well, I'm trying to figure out if we're compatible. And I'm like, okay, that's great. But I'm also trying to figure out if we are emotionally compatible,
intellectually
compatible, financially compatible. Like there's a whole bunch of compatibilities that we need to discuss before we get to whether I'm a top or bottom. Like that's a lot. So, and I'm not asking you your credit score.
Come on.
Like, so why are you asking me what? We ain't even got there yet.
Yeah. So, you know, so again, I don't know. And I'm a person that I've learned to not speak in absolutes.
Absolutely.
I've learned to say, oh, I would never do that.
Yeah.
Or I always do this.
That's right.
Because you don't know what you're going to do until you're in a position.
Yeah.
You know
and
what I mean?
Like, so when I'm in arguments with guys I'm dating and they say, well, you always, and I'm like, first of all, I don't always do anything. Like,
right.
Nobody always.
Right. Nobody is always honest.
Right.
You know, like what my Netflix, but it ain't even my Netflix. It's Elliot's Netflix. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, okay. So they were saying, well, they wanted to ask some questions. Did you want to take some questions? All right, let me drop this link down in here, niece. Let me get over here and drop this link because a lot of you are saying stuff.
What's the link for? I don't get it.
So then they can come in and they can talk and we can hear them.
Oh,
because I can't read. Yeah,
this is when my age shows up. I didn't know you could even do that.
Yeah, because I can't read all of those comments, guys. I'm trying to stay in the conversation and know what I'm talking about. So I can't read all of the long ones. So I'm not ignoring you. I just can't focus and read all of that. But you guys are making some really good points. I definitely see them. Let me drop this link down here. I'm dropping it in Facebook now. And if you want to come on and say something, you're welcome to. I dropped it in Facebook, and now I'm going to drop it over here on YouTube.
But if they don't want to come on, like, can they just?
You don't have to show your face. You can just you can keep the camera off and just come on.
Oh, and then just talk.
Yeah, like, just talk. Yeah, okay. But we would prefer to see your face, niece. Okay. But okay, so I just dropped the link down there, and I'll keep dropping it periodically, so you can catch it.
But who said they wanted to ask questions?
It was a few people in there saying, "Can you drop the link after y'all have the conversation?" A few times I saw it come up. Excuse me. Somebody said, I just want to say that I love Scott.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Who is that? Is that a male or female? Because
I don't know.
I'm into men. I'm kidding.
Oh my God. Somebody one-on-one kind of guy said, let's keep it into 5-minute intervals, please. You know, some of y'all get on here, y'all just want to bloviate. Like it ain't other people.
What's that word?
Bloviate. Just ramble and talk on and on and on. And BLOVIATE. I don't know. I picked that one up years ago, and I've held on to it. But yeah, some people just go on. You like, girl, it's other people in the queue waiting. But while we're waiting for somebody to join, I'll go ahead and look up bloviate for Scott. Because I think some of y'all think I just be making up words.
No,
not you.
I know you don't make up words.
Bloviate.
But generally, when you use the word, I know what it means.
Right. Okay.
You go put it on speaker.
Bloviate.
So it says talk at length, especially in an inflated or empty way.
So like ad nauseum.
Ad nauseum. You'll just talk. You're like, girl, land the plane. What's the point? But okay, here we go. We have a caller, like Phil Donahue back in the day. You're on. Hello? You may be on mute. Are you on mute?
Are we on mute?
No, we're definitely not on mute. You guys can hear us, right?
Oh, sorry. I just figured out. Can you hear me?
Okay. You were on the other day. Aren't you in LA?
I was, yes.
I remember you. Okay, go ahead.
I guess I just had a general question about, you know, I'm HIV negative, and I'm just going to be honest, I am hesitant to date somebody who's HIV positive. And has there been situations where like an HIV negative person and an HIV positive person is dating, and then, does the HIV negative person stay negative as long as the HIV positive person is, undetectable and untransmittable? And I just was wondering about that, because I think that's the only, I was just wondering about that.
So for me, I think that first of all, I think that's a really great. I appreciate your honesty, because I think that a lot of people don't talk about that kind of stuff a lot, and I think that's important.
And
right?
This is what I want to do: bridge communities, HIV negative people and positive people talking.
So I do believe that there are probably a lot of cases, but because people are so silent about it, because it's kind of a private matter, I would imagine. But I do believe that there are a lot of cases where, and I'm going to make the assumption that you're speaking about them having unprotected sex, because otherwise they would not zero convert, I would imagine. But I think that that's probably true. For me personally, when I date somebody and we're in it, I invite them to come with me to a doctor's appointment, and we have a collective conversation with my doctor, because I'm just open like that. Like, because I want them, I feel like it's my responsibility to do whatever I can to make them feel comfortable.
So here's what my answer to it. Many years ago, I read an article. This is before PrEP, and we have to get into this PrEP conversation too. Many years ago, I read an article, and they did studies where it's called a serodiscordant couple, where one person is positive and the other person is negative. And they did a study with like 100 couples, and they had them using condoms, and no one seroconverted. No one became positive. But now we have this world where with PrEP, and the CDC and the pharmaceutical companies have said that if a person is HIV positive, but they're undetectable, and we can explain undetectable later if you guys need it. If they're undetectable and you're with the person that's negative and you're having unprotected sex, that you cannot seroconvert. Now, me, Craig, the person, would not trust that.
Right.
Now, I'm not, now for all the people that are undetectable, please don't email me tearing me up.
Because
I'm like you, Craig.
And I'm sitting next to him.
Because
I'm like you, Craig.
Say it again.
I'm like you, Craig.
Yeah, I'm not going to trust that. Because there have been because first of all, we talked about this the other night. Nothing is 100%.
That's right.
Condoms are not 100%. PrEP is not 100%. There have also been studies about PrEP where people have seroconverted.
That's right.
Where they were on PrEP. Now I don't know if they were using PrEP properly or not, but they became positive. And so for me, I just don't want to do it. And if you've been watching me long enough, you know that I don't want to get on PrEP, because I think I've done I've never had an STD or STI. And so I think I've done a pretty good job of creating, you know what I mean? Like protecting myself, if you will. And so I don't want to get on PrEP, because over the long term, it can have effects on your kidneys and your liver. And I'm not trying to get on that. And there haven't been any long-term studies of HIV negative people being on PrEP. Because it's a new drug. Now the drug has been around, but they've been using it for people that are HIV positive.
That's right.
They just started using it in maybe the past 7 or 8 years on people that are negative. So you can't tell me that when I'm 60, bitch, that my kidneys and liver are going to be good, then I'm not getting on it.
But there are new versions of PrEP coming out.
They have an intravenous, they have an injectable one. But I barely got on this goddamn monkeypox and this COVID vaccine.
I know.
So I'm not letting them shoot no shit in my arm.
Right.
So again, you have to trust your instincts.
And that person, like, I believe that your gut tells you
I believe
a
so too.
lot.
I believe
Because
so.
really, I believe that's just God speaking to you through you.
And then as far as the undetectable piece, let me just say this, and then I'm going to go to the next person. A lot of time, and I've had instances where people say, "Well, I've had unprotected sex with someone that's HIV positive, undetectable." But my thing is, how do you know that they're still undetectable every time that you're having unprotected sex?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because we're not doing lab work before we go.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And so, because I have a really good friend, not Scott, but I have a really good friend who was undetectable for a decade.
Yeah.
Wow.
And what happened was he got a new job and his mother died. So he was stressed out. So his numbers, he was no longer undetectable.
Yeah.
And my thing is, well, what if he was in a relationship with somebody who was negative and they were having unprotected sex and now he's no longer undetectable?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So again, you just have to, don't let anybody make you feel like you can't have agency over your body and your life. You know, so just trust yourself.
Yes.
And the last thing I just want to say is thank you, Scott, so much for being brave and having this conversation. And I really loved the conversation you had with Craig when you were talking about with your parents and your past suicide attempts. And then I really, really loved Heartstopper. It really warmed my heart when I watched
wasn't it
it.
good?
It was very good.
So
Heartstopper was good.
Thank you so much for that recommendation. Thank you for both of you.
You're welcome. I appreciate you being on here so regularly.
For sure.
All right. We're going to go to the next one. Thank you. But yeah, Heartstopper was really good.
Oh my God, yeah.
All right, so we're going to go to...
And Uncoupled was good.
Uncoupled on Netflix was good too. And you know I don't really like Tisha Campbell, but she was very good on that.
Yeah.
Hey, Cedric, are you the nurse?
No, I'm not the nurse.
Oh, because I'm sorry, because there's a Cedric in here, and his name is Cedric LPN or something like that.
Yeah, I remember. I'm good. How are you, Craig?
I'm well.
This is my first time coming on. I can't believe I'm sitting here talking to you.
Oh, wow. Coming on live, or you mean coming on to speak?
On to speak. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm always on the live, but I never came on to speak before.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Scott, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I commend you on this conversation on today.
Oh, thank you.
So first off, let's just say I'm new to the scene. 2 years ago, I recently come out to my entire family.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
yeah, I'm
How'd that
30.
go?
It went absolutely great.
Oh, good.
So I was new to the scene. I was celibate for 7 years, by choice, and I decided like, hey, I need to get back out here. I need to start back, start back dating and get my life together. Um, so I started. People always say don't get on the dating sites and stuff, and so I decided to get on a dating app, which was BLK, and I got on
Wait, what's it
there.
called?
BLK.
I've never heard of that.
So it's for black. So it's a black professional dating app. There was no type of hooking up. I'm sure it was people on there that would like to hook up and that
Just
that
like the
were
kids
hooking.
over there on Tinder.
Yeah, but it was really professional people on there. They had
Okay.
careers and it was really good. So I met a lot of people, but the thing is though, I was new to the scene and I was afraid that people was going to see that, hey, this guy is new. We're gonna So
You felt
I
like they were
was,
going to take advantage of that?
yes, I felt like I was gonna be taken advantage of, with that, and it was kind of scary at first, until I started making friends, and some of the friends that actually came out told me that they were undetectable. So I wasn't really educated on it because I never had to be educated on it. Um, so they told me that, hey, there's no way of getting it if you're undetectable. Also, they have to be a person who you can trust. If you're going to date them and they are undetectable, they need to go and get checked every 6 months
That's right.
to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that they continue to be undetectable. So it totally opened my mind up to it. Luckily, well, I'm not gonna say luckily because I made up in my mind that okay, I will be able to date someone who's undetectable. But if they were detectable, I don't think I could.
Mm.
Just because of my personal thoughts and the things that I like to do, I don't feel comfortable
The
doing that.
things you like to do,
Yeah,
you
we
know,
both heard that.
we heard it.
the things that I like to do, I can't operate all the time in a safe space.
Yeah, I get that. I
You know,
totally
I,
get that.
so I can't do that.
But
But
I have a question.
okay,
So how do you, because the goal for anyone that is HIV positive that is detectable, the goal for them and the doctor's goal is for them to become undetectable. So if someone says to you, I'm detectable at this point and this is my viral load, it's, I don't know, I'm gonna just say 1500. And for everybody that knows or that does not know, the viral load is what measures how much virus is in your body, and it can basically tell you um, how long, or like what you need to do to take better care of yourself. So if you have a viral load that is not undetectable, the goal is always for you to be undetectable.
right,
And also, I'm assuming there are things that you want to do sexually that would put you at risk. But the thing is, HIV isn't the only thing to be concerned
That's
with.
right.
right.
That's
Well, I, I,
Right.
I I don't have that. I don't have that issue now. I'm now married, so
Um,
I don't have the issue now.
Look, way to go, Paula. Way to go. We just came out 2 years ago and he already married.
Yeah. So I actually came out to my parents 1 month, and 2 months later, I told them that I was engaged.
oh wow.
Oh, wow.
What
Yep.
you
Oh,
1 month?
It's
all
it's an
right.
it's
Well,
it's
listen,
an it's an amazing story, but hey, I don't have time for that right now. I'm not
right.
gonna
We'll
Yeah,
have to
because
have you on
you're
here.
bloviating.
Yeah, because now you're bloviating. And we
I'm
got about
sorry.
5 people sitting down here in
Go
queue.
ahead. Thank you
All right,
guys.
look, thank you so much for coming on.
Okay.
Bye. I see you, Bless, Every, and Suzanne. I'm coming. Or is it Suzanne or Susan? But I'm coming. So I wanted to answer this question right here. Ann Hook said, is undetectable and negative synonymous? No, they are
No,
not.
no, they're not.
But that's a perfect segue to what I wanted. I had to write down a little note because I'll forget. What I've noticed also is within the HIV community, it's almost like the have and the have nots. The girls that are HIV negative, undetectable in some cases, not all, kind of look down on the girls that are HIV positive, but they're detectable. It's like, oh, I'm HIV positive, but I'm undetectable. It's like almost like a hierarchy.
Oh,
And I've seen like
that's the experience. I guess
I've
I'm
seen
so,
people shame. I've seen undetectable people shame people that are HIV positive.
the people that I know that are in my circle of friends that are positive,
Mhm.
I have never once asked them if they're undetectable.
Well, that's something that you'll see. I've seen people have those conversations when it's around like those apps, like those sex apps. Once upon a time.
They put it on their
Yes,
profile,
they put it on their profile. So
as
once
a
upon a
badge
time,
of
exactly.
honor or something.
Once upon a time, I used to be on those apps, and I remember they used to be like, "Oh well, I'm undetectable. I'm not like them."
Yeah, that's
So really quickly, I just want to explain when you're Scott did kind of touch on it already. When you're undetectable, it just means your viral load or your viral count is yes.
Well, I don't know that they can get it to zero. It's less than 20 copies.
Yeah, it's very low. So if they pulled your blood and tested it, it's such a low amount of the virus in your system.
Yeah,
it doesn't show up on tests.
Yeah,
but you're still HIV positive. Like I think that's what Magic Johnson was at one point.
right.
Remember when, or he might still be, but remember when people say, "Oh, he no longer has it." No, he had it and has it. It was just that he was his count was really low. So that's the difference. Let me go over here to Bless. I can't see the whole name, but hi there.
How you doing, Craig?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. How you doing, Scott?
I'm doing well. How are you? Oh, you already said
I'm
good.
great.
Never mind.
My question is to you, Scott. I heard you was talking in the beginning of the video that you were saying that you don't really talk about. I don't know if you say you get mad or you get upset when people that are, I guess, newly diagnosed, they speak about it a lot. I ain't saying you can say you get mad, but it does something to you do you think that's the people that are newly diagnosed compared to somebody that has been diagnosed for, since the beginning and has survived it to where they're just expressing a lot of it because it's new to them? To somebody that had it 15, 20 years, it's like waking up every morning. It's not on in front of your lobe or thinking about it so much or whatnot and stuff.
So when I was talking about that, I was talking about there were a couple of guys that I had dated, and to answer your question, they weren't newly diagnosed. In fact, they had been positive longer than I am, and they just were so like I think I said to Craig, I don't know if I said it on here, but they are consumed and defined by their HIV status, and so and I get the reason why, because when I tested positive, which was in 1996, there wasn't all of the medical technology or the medical advances that we have now. So I was on AZT. And if you know anything about AZT, at the time, it was a cancer drug. And it really just kind of tore your entire immune system down to build it back up again, I guess. So like little things would happen, like your nail beds would turn black, or it would, I mean, it just like you could see that people would get like sunken faces and they would look gaunt. And that was because the medication was just like ruining their immune system. So I think the reason that they talked about it so much was because they experienced that, and they probably had a little bit of post-traumatic stress disorder, and they were excited about all of the new medications and all of the advances that we made because they had seen all of the death that we had experienced. But for me, it was never anything that I wanted to define. I'm not a person, like I said earlier, I never have wanted to live in a box. I don't know why I'm like that, but I am. And I don't like to talk about a lot of things ad nauseum, or I don't like to bloviate about a lot of things. So that was what the irritation for me would, because they would want to define our relationship by both of us being HIV positive, and I would always be like, but I'm more than that.
It was always like a trauma bond.
Yeah, like commiserating.
Yeah.
So it's like go ahead, Greg.
No, go ahead.
So I guess it's like almost like when the new gays come out or whatnot, how they did feel like they're defined by being gay and being proud of it and putting it to the forefront by I'm gay. To where when somebody's positive as well, to it's the forefront. And I guess my last question to you, because I can go on and on, but the last question to you and Craig, you can answer to it as well too. I guess how do you, as you be going through your therapy stuff, I'm coaching people through their stuff, Craig, how do you get past that point? Like, is it like, I don't give a fuck no more type shit about the question that I asked to you in the beginning about, to where you're not defined by it or whatnot? I guess keeping yourself busy, because like they tell you when you first get diagnosed that this would be something that would be on your mind every day when you wake up. Now, maybe that's not for you, and maybe that's not for a lot of people or whatnot and stuff like that. So.
No, that definitely. So when I was first diagnosed, I felt dirty, and I went through a very long period of feeling unworthy of anything, really, of love, and I don't really talk about this a lot because it is, I don't recognize that person anymore. That's really what it's mostly about. So
I think it's about healing yourself.
Yeah.
And giving and forgive. You said to me one time. He said to me years ago. He said I had to forgive myself for.
That's right.
You said making
a bad mistake.
A bad mistake. Yeah, that's what he said to me.
And a part of that was because I consider myself to be a very intelligent person, and in my mind, intelligent people don't make bad mistakes. But that's not true. Right. That's a story or a narrative that I told myself. Because smart people make dumb decisions all the time, every day, and myself included, I still do. And I had to forgive myself for making a bad decision.
So what was the bad decision? Because I don't want people to misconstrue what you're saying.
Not putting on a condom.
Okay.
Like because there were two of us in the bed, and both of us could have made a better decision for ourselves. Like, he could have divulged if he knew. I could have said, let's use protection, you know, so.
I'm going to share something that I've never shared before. I just thought about this. I remember this was years ago. I didn't know Carlton yet. And
do we want to finish answering his question, or do you?
Oh wait,
no, you did. Well, I was just, you did. I just didn't know if Craig had anything to add to it. And I guess he's adding to it now.
Yeah, this is what I'll add to it. So I had just come back to Atlanta. I had just published my first or second book, something, and I remember I had met this guy, and we were at his apartment, and we were about to get into it. Like, I had him naked and everything, and was about to go in. And he stopped me, and he's.
Would you like to define go in?
You know what I mean. He was on the couch, legs was up.
Oh wow!
And he stopped me, and he said, "I have something I need to tell you." And I was like, "What?" And he told me, he said, "I'm positive." There was no condom present. Scott said that. Scott did that, not me. But yeah. And he stopped me. And I've thought about that before. It's just like, how would my life have changed if he had not, I guess, protected me in that moment, right?
Yeah.
If he hadn't made a choice for me.
Yeah. Well, and it was Grace stepping in.
Yeah, because he didn't have to tell me that.
Yeah, he did not.
I'm gonna ask one more question so you can get to somebody. Scott, with the drugs that you take, how much do you believe in them as far as it not transferring, like you guys were talking about a couple minutes ago about how undetectable doesn't mean that you still got the copies in your body, in your blood system and whatnot, stuff like that, to where there is still a chance that you can, and do you prefer just dating somebody that's positive so you won't have that guilt, like you said earlier, you're talking about guilt earlier about friends passing away and stuff like that, so you won't have to have that guilt of passing this on to some, potentially. The chances are low, but
I'm really super duper cautious about, like, because I'm very protective of people that I love, friends included. Like, when we were in Baltimore, I ain't going to jail for no bitch, but I will, like, I'm protective of people that I love and care about.
Yeah.
So I am, and the thing that I will say about dating positive people, I don't think about that. I think about, like I said earlier, I don't get to choose how love comes to me. Mm-hmm. So however it shows up, in whatever packaging it shows up, that's what it is. Like, for me, like, I connect to the person, not whether they're HIV positive or negative. I'm okay with either. I just want to be with somebody at the end of the day who has my back and who can make me laugh, and I can cook dinner for, and we can, go on trips and, whatever. There was something else you said. I can't. What did you asked me something? Oh, the drugs. So when I first tested positive, my viral load was at 300,000. And so now, and I've been undetectable, less than 20 copies, I don't know, for 10, 15 years. So I do believe in the drugs, but I don't believe that gives me a pass to just allow myself to think that I'm negative, if that makes sense. I'm still cautious, and I'm still protective of people that I am engaging with.
Okay. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Scott, for listening. I love y'all little group. Like, it's so dope or whatnot. Have a good night.
You
Congratulations on your show as well, too. No problem.
All right. Bye. Y'all are so damn nosy. But what the fuck happened when he told you that he was positive? Well, we didn't have a condom. Right. Scott already told you what happened. But we didn't have a condom. And I don't know what I would have done in that moment if we had one, but we didn't have one. So that was the end of that in that moment. And, well, I mean, nothing ever happened after that. You know what I mean?
Oh, you ghosted him?
I didn't ghost him. But anyway, so let me ask this, and then I'm coming to the next person, Suzanne. Somebody in the comments put up something about PrEP.
Yeah.
And they said, and his question was something about, has PrEP allowed people to become reckless with unprotected sex? And I agree. I believe it has.
Because you're supposed to use condoms
in conjunction with the PrEP.
With PrEP, yeah.
But
because you can still get herpes, you can still get gonorrhea.
Syphilis,
like
they got a super gonorrhea
chlamydia,
going around.
Chlamydia. I mean, it's just. I mean, you still are exposed.
Yeah, there's a super gonorrhea.
And so I remember, and I told you that there's a friend of mine who lives in Los Angeles, and we were communicating on Instagram the other day, and we were talking about. He was talking about there's a stigma in Los Angeles apparently that if you're not on PrEP, then there's something wrong with you. Like, because everybody.
Oh yeah, we did talk about that.
Everybody's like, well, why aren't you on PrEP? Why aren't you on PrEP? And I'm like, so I believe, and this was one of the things I wanted to say. I'm not a person that believes in having a bunch of chemicals in my body.
Dude, you know I'm not.
And I've been struggling with that with these vaccinations and all of this stuff. Because when I got my monkeypox vaccination, they also gave me a Hep A vaccination. So, and in the moment, I was fine with it. But because I don't like all these chemicals in my body, I got home and I had a little bit of a panic attack because I was like, what the fuck is floating around my body? And so the next morning I was walking around here thinking, do I feel like something's going on with me?
Mm-hmm.
And so the same thing applies with, HIV. I don't like putting all these chemicals in my body just because I believe that the body's designed to heal itself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take care of yourself and, do what you need to do, like everything, like I don't believe in just popping a pill just to make it go away. Like, it's just not. I think that there are natural things that can help you, expedite the healing process, but ultimately everything is designed to pass through.
Right. All right.
Sorry.
Is it Suzanne?
Susan.
Susan.
It's Suzanne, but everybody calls me Susan.
Okay.
Well, my name is not Susan.
Whitney Houston. That's the Whitney Houston song. My name is not Susan.
Okay, and Scott.
Hi.
I see you in the Cash App, so I definitely recognize that's who you are.
Yes, I'm definitely a big fan. I love you guys to death. I am little backstory. I'm a straight white female. There are some of us that love you guys. But I really don't have a question, but I need some advice.
Okay.
So I have a 19-year-old son and an 18-year-old daughter. Well, actually, they're both 19 right now, not twins.
Okay.
And when I was coming up, it was talked about regularly, about HIV, but now it's just like it's nonchalant. Like no matter what I say, it's like, okay, like what can be said, or I mean, I know nothing can be done, but do you have any advice of how to go to them and just really break it down? I just don't know.
I'm gonna tell you what my parents did as it related to sex, because my parents are very they're open to stuff, but they are also very conservative, reserved kind of people, which is kind of interesting. But I came home from school one day and there was a book on my bed and a box of condoms. And I think I was 15. And then we had a conversation about it at dinner that night about, like, we didn't talk about the book because I hadn't read it, but they talked about like the diseases and stuff that was out there and how I needed to protect myself. And it wasn't in a lecturing kind of way. It was really like a conversation that I still remember. I was actually looking on my bookshelf because I still have the book. It doesn't talk about HIV because it wasn't really
a thing at that time.
It wasn't, no. But it talks about sex and there's illustrations and it's a book for teenagers, which helped kind of. I did read the book, but it was a way for my parents to kind of open the conversation, which I like in retrospect. I think that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Well, what I'll say to you is, I do feel like we've kind of moved away from the conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think part of it is because
it's so mainstream.
it has become mainstream. But what I will tell you is we talk about HIV in the gay community more than straight people do. I believe. Now I've never done a study on it, but I believe we definitely, because we're beating the head over it.
But aren't straight people, their cases are rising?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think that
yes,
they are. But we talk because when you go to the club, you know, there are little pamphlets. You got people doing outreach at the club. You know what I mean? Like it's always around us.
Yeah.
And so I think in a lot of cases we're more versed in HIV and that kind of thing than straight people are. Because we've been forced, and you know, from the beginning it was always a gay. First it was gay white disease.
It was always a gay thing.
It was isolated.
Yeah, and
totally
so
agree.
I think now, because we've been, you know, given so much information, it's almost like, well, the information is there now, so get it
right.
You know, but
Most
I think
definitely.
to Scott's point, you know your kids better than anybody. So
right,
I just
and
think that
it just so happened my daughter is actually pregnant right now. My first grandchild, but you know, I'm just so scared because you know, as you said, they're at that age. It's like no matter what you say, is
they don't think you know anything,
right?
At all.
Right. Well, I mean, because I was that kid. My parents would say something. I'd be like, you don't know what you're talking about. Shut up.
Right.
And it's crazy because I've actually been blessed not to how can I say this? Not to have it, if that makes sense.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
For mistakes that I've made, you know?
Yeah. It's but for the grace of God, right?
Yeah. And so it's kind of, it's more emotional for me to try to get through to them, you know, because what if, you know, they might not be so lucky, you know? So I'm always thinking of ways to try to educate them. And they get tired of hearing, Mom, I know. But yeah, I just wanted to get advice from you guys.
No problem.
This is
I think that
great
the last
topic.
thing I'll say is that I think that they might be saying, I know, and like, but they hear you. I do think that they hear you. They may act like they don't, but they do. It's in there somewhere. And you have to trust that.
Right.
Okay.
But thank you, Susan.
Thank you, guys. I'm so glad I got to talk to y'all.
Have a good night.
Thank you. You too. Tell Mother Gladys hello.
I sure will. Bye.
All right. Bye.
I just dropped the link down there again for you guys. I put it in Facebook and in YouTube. We do have someone else waiting. We have Corey Grant. We do have someone else waiting. Corey, turn your internet down.
Can you hear me?
Someone else waiting. Corey, turn your internet down.
He got it down.
Oh, Craig, I just wanted to say I'm over Keon's house.
I was just going to say, you over at Keon's house? I was just going to say that.
I can hear you now. Let's see what I got to
do. Keon used the same green screen the other day.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yes.
I thought he literally was at Keon.
So they all said, he over at Lady Stafford's house. He over at Keon's house.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear us?
But I can't hear you. Let's try this. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Let's try this. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear us?
There's a delay.
There is a delay.
Sorry. Yeah, I can't hear you, but I want to state this one thing because
there is a delay.
Yeah, I can't hear you, but I want to state this one thing because
go ahead.
I want people to know that like I stated earlier that I do have HIV, but oftentimes people that are HIV negative and they're undetectable, they don't feel any different or anything. but I want people to know the dangers of it, because now they told me I had HIV for about, let's see, I found out in 2005. And then one day I was at the store, they told me to discontinue a pill because it was causing my numbers to drop in my kidney. So I stopped taking that pill. Well, fast forward a couple of more years later, now they're telling me that my numbers are to the point to where I have to take dialysis. So I want people to know, just because you don't change once you find out you have HIV, there's other dangers, because like I've been following you, Craig, forever.
Thank you.
I'm from Maryland, so you see a lot of colloquialisms, and I was like, that's the Maryland thing that he says. But anyways, yeah, so when they call, and so I've been on dialysis, I just turned 50 since 45 years old. So I just want people to know that that's the other danger of being on those pills long term.
Yeah, it is.
Plus, my father was already a dialysis patient, so I probably would have maybe been on dialysis, but not as early as I was.
Mm-hmm. Right. Thank you. I know you can't hear us, but thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right.
But I wanted to state that, okay?
All right. Thank you. And see, that was the point that I was making earlier about me getting on PrEP and my reticence.
Yes.
Because it's just like the long-term effects of these drugs, even with high blood pressure, medication, all of those things. That's why
they have an effect.
They have an impact on you. And that's why I say to you guys all of the time, and you're like, well, I just get on my little water pill. But no, if you can counteract that through your diet or juicing or whatever, then do it, because the long-term effects, it can be detrimental, and so.
I want to talk about that for a minute, because I do feel like, so my doctor, I'll just make statements without judging. My doctor knows that he cannot sit me down and say, I'm gonna write you this prescription for XYZ.
Yeah.
And because he will tell you, he was like, I know I can't just give you something and you gonna take it, because you're gonna go home and research it.
That's right.
And see what it does and all. And then, because I am 1 point, literally 1 point from having high cholesterol. And my doctor has been on me like, you need to take a statin. You need to take it. And I'm like, I'm not taking a statin.
Right.
It is 1 point.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not doing that. Like, we're not doing that.
Right.
And he's been like, he knows that I'm not that person. Like, I'm not impressed with your credentials.
Right.
Just because, like, I've been getting up with this body for 54 years. You ain't about to sit up here and tell me about this shit.
And now I got to be on a pill for the rest of my life for cholesterol.
And what's interesting is, like, every time he does my blood, it's the same.
Right.
My cholesterol is the same.
Right.
So I know that if I wanted to not eat mac and cheese periodically and my numbers go down, it probably would. But, there's some things I'm just not going to do.
Right.
So, but you're also not going to just write me a prescription. So I'm saying all that to say, like, be smart about advocating for yourself and knowing your body and knowing before you just accept a pill to, like, fix it or whatever.
That's a really good point. Jerry said you have to take control of your own health.
That's right.
Remember, they are practicing.
That's right.
Medicine.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
We had another person in here, but they just stepped out.
Left.
Yeah, they left.
They were
so anyway, I guess that's it. We'll wrap up now, unless there's something else you wanted to say.
No, I will say I appreciate this forum. I appreciate the people that follow you, that have started following me. I do my best to engage with people. I know I'm not always, like, conversational, because most of the time when I'm on Instagram or wherever, I'm scrolling and doing, like, busy multitasking.
We do have someone back. Interior designer, I think it said.
Hey, Craig.
Hey there.
Hi, Scott.
Hi, how are you?
So one of the things that I wanted to share something, Craig, is kind of crazy how parallel our lives are. a lot of the things that you kind of talk about, I just sit back and completely laugh because I've experienced some of those things. You and I are the same age, born the same year, all of that. So, but one of the things you guys were talking about being in a relationship with someone and they not share with you immediately about their status. So I was first relationship with a guy, and one of the things that I'm thankful for is that I was not very quick to jump into a sexual relationship with that individual. And the reason why I'm on this call is to express to people how important it is for you to develop a friendship with that individual and to get to know them. He and I were together for probably about 4 months before we were actually intimate. And being naive, that was not an immediate question that I asked. Okay. And so he and I noticed he was very cautious. He was older. He was 6 years older, and much more experienced than I was. Let's say that.
How old were you at the time?
I was 28. Okay.
Okay, so he was 34. Okay.
Well, I think I was 27 and he was 33.
Okay.
And so we were probably about, I would say about 4 months into the relationship. And he had come over to my house that particular day, and we were seeing each other all the time. Okay. And it was on a Sunday. I would never forget it. I was cooking dinner. And I noticed that he was unusually clingy that particular day, but it was a sadness about him. And so I said, what's up? Like, what's going on with you? And he shared with me, he said, I have something that I want to tell you. Okay. When someone says that to you,
Brace yourself.
my heart completely dropped. And I said, what is it? And so we went in and we sat down in my family room. And he just said to me, he said, I'm sick. And I said, well, what does that mean? Like, do you have cancer? Like, what? I'm hoping it's something else. What is this? Because I knew he had cancer before. He was a cancer survivor. So I thought maybe that had come back. And he shared with me that he had been HIV positive for, I want to say about 8 or 9 years. Okay.
At this point, had you had a sexual relationship with him?
We did, but we used protection.
Yeah, because you said he was very cautious.
He was very cautious, and even though I didn't ask that, I too was very cautious because I was new to this. Okay, and so, but he was very responsible, in that. But the thing that I want to get to is he and I continued the relationship. Now, if someone would have asked me if I would have dated someone that was positive, I would have said no. Okay.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, if he had disclosed that to me in the beginning, I wouldn't have dated him. Okay. Only because of the stigma that we have about this. But because I experienced it at that point, I was already in love with this person. Okay.
And that was what I was saying.
Yeah. And Craig, that's why when you say this, I go, Craig, stop telling my life story. Okay. And so I did continue the relationship, and we continued in the relationship for about 3 years. Okay. He did invite me, Scott, something you said. I really respect you so much for saying that. I would invite that individual to talk to my doctor because he did that. Okay. I had a lot of questions. I did meet with his doctor. I talked with his doctor. Of course, after he told me this, it was on a Saturday night, not a Sunday. And I remember I got no sleep. And he asked me, he said, do you want to break up? Because he was bawling and crying,
Yeah. That happened to me.
Yeah, he was bawling and crying. And in my mind, I was like, you're not going to dump this on me and leave. You're going to stay here. Okay. I don't have time to be angry with you right now because now I'm worried, and of course, every encounter we've ever had went through my mind. Okay. Was
Because
it
you're tracing
ever?
your steps.
You're
You're tracing
tracing your steps, Craig. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I relived literally every encounter we ever had. Okay, in my mind.
Yeah.
And so I had contacted my doctor, and he came into the office on a Sunday to see me, and the office was closed. He came in on the Sunday, and I was like, I need an immediate HIV test. Like, I can't wait till Monday. I need it. He was like, what happened? And I talked to him, and he eased my mind. He said, I'm telling you, it would be very unlikely, based on what you have told me, whatever. Yeah. And so during that time, Craig, my boyfriend at the time, he was calling me every day. He was like, have you got your results back? I mean, he was very worried about this, and something that he said just ripped me up, because he said, if for some reason your test results came back negative, I'm going to commit suicide and kill myself.
You know what? Let me jump in right there and say this. And I'm going to let you finish.
Yes.
I just made a note because you reminded me of something. The very first guy that I dated, remember I said he broke it off with me. The full story is in the first book, but he broke it off with me. I was going to workshops trying to find out what I could do, what we couldn't do, so that I could remain safe. But he said to me when he broke it off, he said, I'm never going to stay with you. He said, because because eventually, because I hadn't had sex at that point.
You were still a virgin?
I mean, I had touched and agreed, but I had not. And he said, eventually you're going to want to fuck.
Right.
And he said, and I'm not going to do that. He said, because if you ever came home a year after we're together, and you came home and told me that you're positive, he said, I wouldn't be able to live with myself.
Right.
So it was his own guilt.
But he said if he came.
He said his partner said
if he was negative.
No, he said if I were positive.
If he had come home and told him he became positive, he was going to kill himself.
I'm sorry. All right.
Yeah, and so that made me think about that.
Yeah, and the point, I've said all of this to say that when when we did break up, it was over. I really felt like after he had told me that, it was such a weight on him, because he had fallen in love with me. And he said that, and he was, it was kind of weird, but he was like, I've never been in this place before, because I was just going through the motions of dating all these different people, but never connecting in a way of a relationship. Okay. So it was new to him for someone to bring him into a relationship, okay, where we actually cared about each other, and we traveled together. We became, a full-on relationship, which he hadn't really experienced. It was just sexual encounters before that. And so, but if I had not established that friendship in the beginning, this would be a different story. Okay. And because he would have treated me
like a piece.
Craig, thank you. And
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
And he said to me, I had a different level of responsibility to you.
Come on, somebody.
Because you did not, he loved me.
You had touched him in that heart space.
Right, Craig. And it was, oh my God, it was such a connection with him. And I really feel like the weight that he carried with this, because it was always, I saw my doctor, here are my viral loads and test results and this medication, and he was always worried about me. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying this to all of the listeners, Craig, that you have. I'm a loyal listener, by the way.
I appreciate that.
Look, you have read me for filth before, and I didn't care. I turned back again the next day and read you back. Okay? Because I do. Craig,
where are you located? Where are you located?
Listen, I'm not telling you. Okay, I'll send you a private email. Okay.
Send me an email.
I'll send you an email. And look, and
while you calling me nasty, you can be nasty too.
Oh, Scott, Craig knows he reads, okay?
Yeah,
but
I know he reads.
but
He wasn't over here trying to act all like he's a
but
sunshine.
Scott, the reason why I identify with it because Craig and I are so much alike. Okay. And that's why I love him, because I know Craig says that, but he has a mushy heart on the inside. Okay. It's just the outside exterior. And I'm the same way, Craig. Okay.
Yeah.
But I listen all the time, and I said, I'm not calling in telling that. But the reason why I wanted to call in Craig is because it is so many people that are listening tonight, and I was reading the comments, and I want people to know it is critically important that you establish a relationship and trust, and because sometimes you can touch a person in a way that they have never experienced before.
That's right.
Okay? And the reason why we broke up was,
that's what I was about to ask next.
Yeah, the reason why we broke up, number one, Craig, we were in totally different places in their lives. Okay, I am entrepreneur, and I mean I'm I have my background was totally different, how we grew up and raised, and the values and the things that I wanted in my life. I knew that he could not accommodate where I was going. Okay,
right.
And so, but he wanted, I ended the relationship. Okay. But he explained to me the reason why I started doing some of the things that I was doing is because the love that I had for you, I had to push you away because I was so afraid of you contracting HIV. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, but since that time, I moved on, and I've been in a 16-year, amazing, amazing relationship.
My God, today.
And Craig, we are getting, we just, we have a surrogate. We're getting ready to have a set of twins. And it is a love. Like, I wish that everyone could experience this love and life that amazing. I have, So, but I couldn't, it would be selfish of me not to get on here and to let your listeners know, whether, I know PrEP has come out. What I would say about that is, I would be leery, and I watch Keon when Keon is talking about this, and Craig, you were adamant, I'm not putting that in my body, but what I was hoping, Craig, you were going to say is, because I respect the fact that, you were in a long-term relationship now, and whether you're in it or not, whatever happens, I hope you and Carlton stay together. Because Craig, and I said that because you had to read somebody last week about some little stuff. Okay. But what I would say to people is look for partnership, okay, in long-term relationships, and not these quick turnarounds, okay? Because I'm a relationship person, okay?
Me too.
So, Craig, I went from my first relationship, and then I've only been in one other that I've been in for 16 years now, okay? And it's amazing, okay? We don't have to worry about any of that stuff, We've been together for a long time, and our families love us, love each other, they support us. And I hope that everybody, Craig, can experience having somebody who loves you enough to be able to put you first. And sometimes putting that person first means that you got to end that relationship that's not good for you. Okay.
That's right.
And so Scott, I listen, if I were in Atlanta, I would be finding out how I could become a part of y'all's club. Okay. Because Craig, I got to tell you this, you are the friend.
We're not taking applications right now, but
but see, that's why, but niece, because I feel like I know you now. Niece, that's why I said, what city you in? Because baby, we need to have a drink.
Craig, listen, Craig, I got to tell you this. And I want to share this with you because I've wanted to tell you this for a really long time. But Scott, I knew that if I sent him an email, he would read it publicly. Okay. So,
but if you tell me what not to read, I wouldn't.
Look, I know him. But Craig,
he can't hold water now.
I know he can't, but that's why we love him. But Craig, I really want to tell you that you are the friend that everyone deserves. Okay. And Scott, all of your whole crew, when your mom was there, listen, I'm not an emotional person. And that day you was on that deck When I tell you I lost it, okay? And like someone else, I had to turn it off because I said, I am too invested in this, and Craig don't even know me, okay? And I'm up here bawling and crying, whoa, Mother Gladys, why is he going back? You know, and Craig, I wanted to fly. I'm an interior designer, okay?
I see by your screen
and I wanted to fly to Maryland to help y'all with that house, okay? That's how invested I am in this whole Craig the Writer Stewart world. And so, and my partner is always saying, "Oh, you," because I'm into you. He doesn't watch anything on like that. But all the time I'm cooking, Craig is on. Scott is talking. The whole crew is there, and I'm like, damn, I want to be a part of that crew. So, Craig, I may become a virtual member of.
Yes.
But everybody out there, I do want you to know, please get to know people before you engage in a relationship with them, because he even said to me, and I was afraid, Scott, to ask, like, how many people have you been sexual with that you didn't tell him? You know, and so, but he did say, if we established something different in the beginning, okay, and he knew I was different. And so that is why he respected me enough to, first of all, tell me. And Craig, like you said, I was already in love at that point, you know. So, but if someone would have asked me, I would say, "Oh no, I wouldn't have done it," you know. But after, and this is not a license for people to not tell people, okay? You know, you really,
say,
yes, Scott.
What I think you gave him was that you showed him that he
was lovable.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, he was lovable.
Of love.
That's right.
Yes. Scott,
Yeah,
he said that to me. He said that he said he had not dated anyone in like 7 or 8 years after finding out, because he was ashamed. And he said, even when I was ending the relationship, he thanked me, and he said, "You have shown me that I am worthy of love."
That's right.
And the guy that I dated, the very first one, after we broke up, he wouldn't allow himself to get close to anyone because he knew he would have to disclose.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he would back away.
That's right.
And even, you know, Craig, after this experience, at that time, I was new to this, so I was not open. Now my mother knew. My mother knows me, okay, and I'm gonna say that to everybody out there. Your parents know you, okay?
Yes, indeed.
So I never had a ceremony, okay, of everybody, look, I'm coming out, you know.
Right. Yeah.
But your family and the people that are close to you, they know you. And so during that time, because I had not, you know, I wasn't open with my friends around me about my life. It was almost like I was in a prison, because I didn't have anybody, an outlet, and someone to talk to. Okay. You know, Craig, you know, back then in 2004, if you would have had your butt on here, I could have called you. Okay. But I did talk with my mother. Okay. I talked with my mother about this. Now I was careful on what I did tell her, because she was my mom would have been worried to death, and you know, whatever.
I didn't tell my mother either.
Yeah. But I did tell her about the relationship. Not that he was positive or anything, but you know, and my family loved him, you know. And Craig, to be honest with you, that was, we broke up in 2006. And would you guys not believe that I have kept his secret private I just disclosed this incident to my now partner of 16 years.
Oh, wow.
Just last week. Okay?
Wow.
And
that's a heavy burden too, because
it really is.
With the two people that I dated, I was the only one that knew for a very long time.
Yeah. And
so it's like, not that you want to tell people, but you know how when you have something that you're struggling with, you want to share, you want to release it, but I couldn't.
Right. And
people will ask questions.
Yes.
Craig,
and people assume that we broke up because he cheated or something. I said, no, it was none of that.
And see, I'm loyal. I'm a very loyal person. Okay. And I still felt loyalty to not divulge his information.
His story. Right.
Story. That's for him to tell.
That's right.
With my partner now, we were watching something on VH1 or something, and incident, and I just felt compelled at that moment. We were in the theater room, and I just stopped the the film, and I said, I never shared this with you, but I want to tell you. And he was like, really? And I mean, and of course he wasn't shocked, but he thanked me for telling him. But and he doesn't know the person, so it wasn't a big deal to me. But I don't feel like you should go around and tell other people's stories.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
And I respect him enough to know he could have done differently. Our story would be different. Okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes with these young folks, I tell them, be careful how quickly you decide to gift your body to somebody. You really need to know these folks, and you need to be careful, and ask the right questions. Because I can tell you, after that, when I met my now partner of 16 years, that was number one question. And we both went to my doctor together to have tests, and I was there when the results were given. Okay.
That's right.
That was
right. That's right. That's right.
So, but Craig, listen, I'm not gonna hog the time, but
baby, you already passed that point. They're tearing you up in these comments.
But Craig, I'm gonna send you. I'll send you a private email.
Please do, and I promise I won't read it.
I know you won't. I trust you. I really do. Oh, Craig, I was in Atlanta for a conference. Well, I got to tell you this. I was in Atlanta for a conference about a month ago, and who did I see in I went to Lenox Mall, and I happened to see Sydney. Okay.
Did you?
Yes, I saw Sydney. I saw the braids first. He had his hair in two braids, and I said, "Oh my God, I hope Craig is with him. If Craig is with him, I'm going over." But he was with someone else, so I didn't bother him. But Craig, listen, when I come to Atlanta frequently for work, the next time I'm in Atlanta, I know you're such a big TV star now. I can't get on your schedule, but you and I need to go to lunch. I'm gonna take you to lunch. You can invite whomever you want, and I'm paying.
Okay.
But I really feel like I really want to be a little to kind of meet you in person and to put this face with a name and all of that. So, but listen, thank you guys so much. Scott, you are such a courageous person, and this is why we love you also, because of how you are such a open person, to share your story, and that's very courageous. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
See you later. Bye.
Bye. Y'all some shady ass people. They talk about, Lord, cut the microphone off. They are so shady. They talk about, Lord, I'm walking out. At least you're gonna say, will somebody please run the Oscar music? Y'all a mess. Y'all a mess. But no, this was an amazing conversation. I want to say one last thing, and then we're gonna get on. I think it was something that he just said, and I'm saying he because he didn't tell us his name. In that second relationship that I was in, when we broke up, we were breaking up for something completely different. It was really because I wasn't emotionally mature at the time to know how to just work through and cycle through things. And
you want to talk about what thing? No, or what are we gonna say that they were in the book?
It was just little stuff. And like, for example, he and his friends would make plans to go out of town. And he wouldn't mention it to me until I would hear about it, like when they talking about it. I'm like, you didn't think that we should talk about that? Like, let me know that
he was still acting as though he was
single. He was still functioning like he was still single in certain ways. But now I understand that it takes time for people to adjust.
Yes.
And function in a partnership. You know what I mean? You have to kind of learn how to do that.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of was overreacting, and I would, be like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. But anyway, but when I did break it off, he did. I don't think he was intentionally doing it, but the way that I felt was that he was trying to guilt me into staying, because he would say, well, I can't move on with anybody else. You're the only person that knows that I'm positive. And, I can't share this with, you know what I mean? So it was all of that.
You never told me that.
I know.
And so, but anyway, I hope this conversation was amazing for you guys. It was somebody that came back in.
I think they were there before though.
All right, we're gonna take this last one. Hi, Joy.
Hi, Craig.
Hi there.
All right, how you doing?
I'm well.
Well, I mean, I just tuned in. I always catch your live, but is it a certain topic y'all talking about, or just freestyling?
Girl, you don't even know what we talking about. Joy, get off of here. We done.
No,
No.
I didn't know. I mean, I don't know if it's a certain thing or if it's just relationships, any kind. Well, see, I mean, I'm a heterosexual woman, but reason why I'm just maybe you can help me, Craig. I mean, I just don't know. This is a guy I like. He's on YouTube, and I've been liking him for 3 years, and he do his lives and everything, and I always log on and he know of me because I called his name out on live on someone's other lives on Instagram, and so ever since then he found out about me. So somehow he could tune in. He could tell when I'm live, and he always looking and staring at my live. When I log on to his show, he could tell. He be staring me through the camera and all that. And then somehow he did a contest. I put my phone number. Ever since then, every now and then he'll call. He'll call me from a different number because I know who calls me, and he'll call me from a different number and won't say nothing. I say hello, hello. And it's like, but then he said, "Oh, he's not interested," but he always picking. So I'm trying to figure out, is he playing games or what?
I'm gonna let Aunt Scott answer that one.
I think he's playing games. I think anybody who's interested will tell you they're interested, and they will show you that they're interested.
Because effort is the only way to communicate interest.
Yeah.
So if he's calling your phone and not saying anything, then I mean, block his number.
That's silly though. If you, I mean, why are you doing that? I mean, but like you said, he's playing games. But I mean, he's 52 years old. I mean, come on.
Well, girl, don't send him no money, okay?
Or anything else.
Well, I have sent him, like when he do his cash out donations on YouTube. So I have sent him not a whole lot, but like $10 here.
Well, girl, I tried. What's your name, Joy Martin? Girl, I ain't never seen no cash app come through for me. You need to stop sending him cash apps.
You absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And see, I was trying to get to know him because I wanted to meet his friend Angela Staten King, and because me and my mom wrote a little child book. But you do help with books, publishing books and stuff like that.
Do I help with that?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't. I haven't. No, I don't publish other people's books. I haven't gotten to that point yet because there's a lot that comes with that. Scott and I actually had a conversation months and months ago about, it was Scott's idea about teaming up to publish books for people, but that would require us to read the books, and right now I just don't know if I have.
We talked about working with one, like what
we said.
I know
one or two.
I know you busy with your show, so your talk show. So yeah, okay.
Yeah, but all right. Well, thank you for calling in, Joy. We appreciate it.
All right. Well, I just wanted. I was trying to get. I've been so busy, but I was trying to get in touch with you when your mother was here because I know you needed help with your mother because I don't stay too far from you.
Oh, where you live?
I stay on Diane Court off of Brandon Road.
Oh, you live.
Oh wow!
I can walk to your house.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
And I wanted to help you with your mom because I'm on dialysis too.
Oh, you are.
And I go to dialysis from 5 to 9 o'clock, and like 8:30, and I'm done. So I know you need to see. I got a car and everything. I was gonna, but now she's gone, so that's fine. But I wanted to help you out with it because I want to do a little change, because I get a disability check.
Right.
So now I was gonna, not that much. I was gonna try the whole lot because I don't do nothing daytime. I'm just open, So that I said, he needs some help. I could help you out, and while I'm there, I would help clean, whatever you needed there for your mom and stuff like
I
that.
appreciate that. I really appreciate
But
that.
she's doing good. She's back home, so that's good.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah, but I see you trying to coming down the hill, coming in your Jeep.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw you. I see you a car.
All right, now let me wrap this up, and you get to give me my address out on this live.
Oh no! I won't do that. All right, but I see you later, neighbor.
Bye.
Invite me over for them dinners now one day. Invite me over them good old dinners. Chef Jackie.
Bye. Y'all have an amazing night, okay? Bye, y'all.